It floods somewhere in that state almost every year, but the granddaddy of it, of course, was Hurricane Katrina, where hundreds of thousands of people experienced damage to their homes. A third of the housing stock of our state was damaged. So when the waters finally came down and people were allowed to go back into the city and go into their homes, what they found was, just absolutely almost incomprehensible. And one of the things that we took back from that terrible tragedy is the importance of preparation. After a flood, the first thing when you get on site is to do an assessment to see what the damage, what the situation is. There are many dangers that you need to prepare for and be aware of. First of all, are there down power lines to avoid? Also, in that initial assessment, stand back and examine the home for structural damage, structural instability. Look for sagging in the roof. Look for leaning of walls, damage to supports, and separation from the foundation, as well as diagonal cracks, which could mean that there is a settling problem. There are many potential contaminants. Lead-based paint in any home built before 1978 is a potential hazard. Some older homes may also have asbestos. And then there is just the overall dangers of any other kind of debris that may be in the home, including sharp objects, broken glass, fiberglass insulation. Now, if the home was flooded with rising flood water, assume that's contaminated as well. Flood water may contain sewage, could carry disease, but also floodwaters can pick up chemicals, fuels, pesticides, anything that was flooded out in the area. Even if there wasn't flooding, if water entry came in, mold could be a big problem as well. One other hazard that sometimes people don't think about are, what we call critters, the infestation that could occur. There could be snakes, there could be rodents hiding in the debris or in unexpected places. And if you happen to be in the South, fire ants float in floodwater. And so you do want to watch out for that as well. Any of those are a hazard that mean do not go in the building until you get it assessed by a professional or someone who can determine the structural integrity and safety of the building. After a flood, unless you've received clearance from the local officials, always assume the water could be contaminated and don't use it or drink it at that point. If it's a community-based system, you wait for clearance from the community. If it is a private well, then it's good to get an electrician out first so you don't shock yourself trying to deal with it, or get a professional to flush it and to disinfect the water supply. If there's gas service to the home, that should be turned off on the outside and the main breaker should be turned off before doing anything. And examine the heating and cooling system to see if there are any separations of connections and joints, to see if there is muck or contamination or other things inside the unit, and to make sure that if it's a fuel burning appliance, that everything is checked and serviced before trying to start it. It's very helpful to assess your resources. First, examine your insurance coverage and see what is and isn't coverage. Many homeowners' policies do not cover mold. If you don't have flood insurance, then your homeowner's insurance may not cover damage from flooding. And so, but looking at the level of coverage is important. If you don't have enough coverage or resources, you then can look to the community, to disaster centers to see if there are some additional sources of financial resources to help. Hiring a professional after a major disaster can be a very difficult process because there are probably not enough to go around. And so there may be resources from your local permit office, or if there is a disaster recovery center that can steer you to some appropriate professionals. I would suggest make sure that whoever does the work, it could be an engineer, it could be a certified or licensed home inspector, or even an experienced building contractor who is licensed, and make sure they have insurance and are approved to work in your location. Examine the capacity you have in your own household. Do you have skills that can be used? Do you have a health condition where that would make it to where you should not be doing the cleanup and restoration work? Because keep in mind, all these contaminants can really take a toll on even a healthy person, much less anyone who has a health condition. There are 8 principles to keep in mind and to try to achieve to have a truly healthy home now and in the future. Keep it dry, clean, pest-free, safe, contaminant-free, well-ventilated, well-maintained, and thermally controlled. You know, hindsight is 20/20, but foresight is priceless. And that's the lesson we hope to bring to the rest of the world. To keep their homes healthy, they must also be resilient to whatever nature brings our way.